Alright, what's going on, guys? Try back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a video talking about the second half of The Walking Dead Season 4. I want to give my thoughts on the pacing and how different it is from the usual Walking Dead that we had the first few seasons. Okay, good stuff. So, of course, we do have 2 episodes left for the end of The Walking Dead Season 4. And I'll go ahead when we get to that point, review the season finale, review the second last episode, and do some videos comparing Season 4 to my favorite season so far, which is Season 3. And, do a review for the season as a whole. But in this video right here, I want to kind of concentrate on giving my opinion on the difference between the first half of The Walking Dead Season 4 and the second. Or actually, when you really think about it, the first half of The Walking Dead Season 4 is kind of like an extension of the third season because the characters are still at the prison. You still have that same kind of storytelling, except the governor's group isn't cutting back and forth between them. They just show up at the end and they kind of resolve that. But in the second half of The Walking Dead Season 4, since Too Far Gone, we've had After, Inmates, Claimed, Still, Alone, and now The Grove. So between all of those episodes, 9 through 14, overall, I want to kind of give my thoughts on the pacing. People have wanted to kind of hear what I think about it because it is so different from the rest of the series. Because we had that really long Governor sort of story arc, Governor Prison, I guess I would say, about a season and a half. When you compare the amount of episodes that we dealt with that, it was a lot because you had, of course, the 16 episodes from Season 3, and then you had the additional 8 from Season 4, the first half. So that's 24, right? Yeah, 24. So when you look at that, 24 episodes, the first 2 seasons are only 19 episodes. So at least like half the series, if you want to look at it that way, before up until this part was, they were at the prison. So they're at the prison for like half the series so far. So this is a cool one because it's something totally new this half. It doesn't feel like anything we've seen before in The Walking Dead. It doesn't really feel like Season 1, which is concentrated so heavily on Rick and on him, and Lori and Carl and Shane and the one group by themselves. And then Season 2 is the same. You have one group by themselves. They're at the farm. They join with Herschel. They'll go on runs and stuff like that. But we never see the group separate. We never see like 2 characters here and have an episode just focused on them, or have 5 characters here and have one focused on them, and have all these different groups all over the place. And that's what we're seeing now in the second half of Season 4. And I really like it because it's so different. The problem is, if you continue to tell the same type of story over and over again, people are going to get really bored. People are going to get burned out. A lot of people, I remember this, it happened at the prison and it happened at the farm too. People online in comments were complaining that they were getting bored of those environments. They were getting bored of that type of story. Seeing the prison versus the governor and how it all comes together and all that. Eventually it does get boring. You want to see it resolved, at some point in time, and then go past it and deal with some different things. This half right here has done a really great job of being completely unique. Let's look at the differences. We have the groups completely separated up into all these different sections, right? Instead of having one big group of 20, 30 characters, or even just 10 by themselves and have the entire story focused on them, we get to see some focus on other characters that we probably never thought would. For example, last week's episode, The Grove, we got to see even more concentration on Carol, who's a character I never thought was going to be developed, which is really cool. We got to see, Tyrese in there and their little group by itself, Mika, Lizzie. Then in another episode, they're not even in the episode at all. We get to see, Still with just Daryl and Beth. Or another where we have 2 groups, like Glenn's group and Rick's group. And if you think about it this way, this is kind of funny. This is like the only portion of the series where we have a good number of episodes that don't focus on Rick. If you look at Season 4, the governor had like 2 episodes by himself, right? And then we've also had in After, of course, Rick was in there, but then he wasn't in Inmates at all. Claimed he was there, then Still he wasn't. Alone he wasn't. and the Grove he wasn't. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 so far from the second half that he hasn't even been in at all, which is kind of cool. It's like getting to see completely new characters, and this is why I do think the series would work without Rick. You know, like the Walking Dead spinoff, I'm sure people are going to love it because as long as they follow the same format as this, we can get to see a different take on a zombie apocalypse and how somebody would react differently in situations versus how Rick does, which is kind of what we're getting to see now, and just see some concentration on different characters. With the amount of episodes we're getting a season, 16 a season, there's no way they can go on through the series for 20 seasons and just focus on Rick. You can't do that, right? It'd get so boring so quickly. The show would be canceled because we have to see development from these other characters so that we care about them. You know, when we see what happens with Lizzie and Mika, it matters because we got to see over the seasons, or over this season, what happens with them as we go through, and they got enough time so that we actually do care, versus if it's a character that doesn't, then we're probably not as likely to care if they don't get developed at all. And look at how big of a character Carol has become as a result of this second half. So my favorite part about this second half that they've done is they've set us up for the next part of The Walking Dead, after the governor, after the prison, to really care about these other characters in the series. You know, even Bob with his time in Alone, we get to see a portion of him, and we start to care about him as a character because we got to see something with him. Even if it was just a before the credits scene, it was really cool. I would have liked to have seen T-Dog get something like that earlier on, before they killed him off, and he was always in the background and just never. I mean, we cared because he was always kind of there for so long, for like 2 full seasons and some episodes. But it's really cool to get to see time with these characters by themselves, and to be at a different pacing where it's not just like a versus matchup, like this group versus this group, or the governor versus the good guy versus bad guy. To just kind of see these characters try to survive on their own when they don't have a shelter, and they're kind of just out there, in the open for anything to occur, for anything to happen. The one thing about it, though, that I would say that I think might turn some people off is if there's a certain episode where we're focusing on characters, like only a couple or a few, and a viewer doesn't really like those characters too much. I think Rick is a pretty likable type of character. Pretty much everybody, I think, would like Rick for the most part. I don't think there'd be many people who say, "Oh, I hate Rick. I hate seeing Rick," right? But there are a lot of other characters in here too that I would think that people might not like. So when you have them sort of singled out like this, and the whole episode focused on them, if a viewer doesn't like one particular character, and you've only got 2 or 3 or 4 characters in a small group, they might not like that particular episode. But I really like this method of storytelling where we get to see more of the world because we have different groups all over the place, and we kind of get to see them converge, or we see different things happen with them at different times. You can put them in and out of chronological order, which we've seen done brilliantly in shows like Breaking Bad, and they've even done it really well here with the governor, and kind of how they did that. It was really good stuff. And just all in all, it's been a really refreshing second half to the season. It's been slower, and I am a big fan of big action and stuff like that too, like we saw before, and the verses with the Woodbury and the prison back and forth, that type of thing was great. But you don't want it to feel stale, and I think that they're doing a great job of really mixing it up and giving us something different, even to the point where Rick won't even be seen for a few episodes, because it's been literally 3 episodes now since we've even seen Rick's group, Rick or Carl or the others, or Rick or Carl or Michonne, I should say. So kind of my thoughts on this half of the season is it's necessary for a long-running series. It's necessary to have change-ups, and things be different. Because if they're always the same, if the group stayed at the prison forever, who would want to watch that? You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be... It would get so stale, it would get so boring to constantly see the same thing. So I really like that in The Walking Dead, they concentrate on a concept for certain characters, and then they resolve it and they go forward. I really like that. They did it with the Shane, Rick, Lori thing, and they moved on from that. Then Lori, and then they moved on from that. And you just get to see, and then all these new characters, they come in and things happen. Maybe they die off, maybe something else happens with them, or maybe like Daryl, they survive on pretty much all the way through when you might not expect them to, or Carol, and it's really done a great job of building the Walking Dead character roster for us as viewers to make the show a more long-term success, where we have all these different characters that get concentration rather than have it just being Rick's show. Rick still may be the front runner, right? But you have all these other characters too, and it's necessary when you're going to have 16 episodes of a season. You can't really do many seasons unless you do that. So in terms of my thoughts on the second half of the season 4, you know, I do like to see big action. I do like to see stuff like that, but I also like to see kind of change-ups like this and slowdowns and see a different take on the world and you know, kind of get to see how characters survive on their own when they're just really dealing with the zombies and the environment and these types of things. And there isn't really an immediate threat trying to hunt them down. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that, but an immediate threat like the governor that's right there all the time, just showing them with no concentration on the zombies, no concentration on surviving and things like that, and just kind of that versus thing. So let me know what you guys think about the second half of The Walking Dead Season 4 so far. You know, of course, the finale is coming up soon, so we're going to see how it all kind of wraps up and what happens with it in the end. But I kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts on what you think of this different pacing, what you think of this different method of doing the show where they're concentrating on certain characters, certain episodes, or certain groups, and we're kind of moving around and kind of seeing how they're all doing together. Probably in the finale, they'll all, you know, converge. Let me know what you guys think. Anyway, I'll call it here. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one. This is Trev saying peace.